Good morning and welcome to this video on how to camp in the snow. This is a supplement video as well to my series on getting through the Sierras, part 4, which is staying warm in the cold. Camping on snow is a challenging but rewarding thing to do. Waking up in the morning in a winter wonderland outside your tent door is an amazing experience. With some simple steps, this can be a safe and enjoyable activity. This video is going to cover tent site selection, preparing your tent site, how to keep your tent stakes in the ground, some general advice, and then going into melting snow, toileting in the snow, some things you can do before bed to keep you warm, and then some actions to take if you get cold during the night. So the important part is picking where you're going to put your tent. You need to be aware of the avalanche paths for your own safety. Avoid low points because these collect the cold air, which makes for a miserable night. Avoid snow-laden trees so that they're a hazard because the increased weight on the trees may cause them to fall over. But also if there's a slight wind, then you're going to get dumps of snow on your tent and possibly branches coming down with those dumps of snow. And think about the wind direction and natural wind tunnels such as saddles and valley floors. Here's an example of a tent site location. I've made sure that the slope behind me is not at risk of avalanches, and I am not down in the base of the valley. I've actually decided to go up the hill a little bit to avoid the cold. I've made sure I don't have any trees directly above me, but I am using the trees behind me as a bit of a wind block, as well as you'll notice I have built a small wind wall in front of the tent as well. Once you've selected your site, then pack down the snow where your tent's going to go. Your body heat will melt the snow underneath you, and it will make it very lumpy if you haven't packed it down and flattened it first. And these lumps will then freeze up, so you're going to have hard lumps underneath you. The simple way is just to stomp the snow in a big area, or if you have a shovel, then shovel the snow away, the loose snow away, and then stamp down your area. Snow shovel is a very handy thing to have with you, but obviously it's a bit of extra weight, which we don't like as thru hikers. But you can look at my super expensive option, which I found very useful, and that was my $3.99 plastic dinner plate that I got from Kmart, I think it was. This plastic plate is actually fantastic, so I can use it just to scoop the snow away. Works really well, and if the snow gets hard, then I just break it up like that and then push it away. Think about building a windbreak. Just piling snow up on the windward side of your tent will help reduce the wind impact, and if there's a storm coming, then make your wind wall a lot bigger than normal. Trying to get your pegs to hold in the snow is one of the challenges. So you can use specialized snow stakes or just oversized snow pegs, or you can improvise a deadman anchor with sticks or your own gear such as an ice axe, your toilet trowel, hiking poles, stuff sack, anything really will do. For a deadman anchor, lay out your guy line to where you would normally put your peg in, and then dig a trench perpendicular to this guy line, and then dig out a trench in the middle sloping up for your guy line to lay in. Put your guy line around the middle of your object, your tree branch, ice axe, etc., and then lay this object in the trench with the guy line coming off it out of the sloped exit. Fill in the trench with snow and compact it down. And for best results, don't tension the line for about 30 seconds to let the snow refreeze and get a lot harder. If you're just going to use your normal pegs, stamp down the snow before putting your pegs in so they've got more solid surface to bite into. And try and keep the pressure off your pegs until they have frozen in place. So that's 30 to 60 seconds is normally enough. If your pegs just keep popping out, go through the previous steps, but also pile snow up over them, stamp it down, and you can even put a little bit of water over this pile of snow, which will then hopefully freeze it solid. Key thing, always have something around to dig your pegs out in the morning, because they are going to be frozen to the surface and pretty hard to get out. And just be aware of your guy lines when you do this so you don't accidentally cut them. Keep track of your gear in the snow and get into a routine of putting everything in the same place. So if it snows or your tent collapses in the middle of the night, you still know where everything is. And part of this is anything that's sharp and could damage your tent, such as your ice axe or your crampons. Make sure you're keeping them away from your tent floor and the walls of your tent as well. Make sure you have good insulation underneath you between the snow and yourself. So make sure that your sleeping pad or your sleeping mattress is sufficiently rated for the snow. Or consider bringing an additional thin close-cell foam mat to go underneath your mattress, just to bring it up to a higher rating. For me, I used my normal Thermarest Neo Air X-Lite Women's. And by the way, the women's has a higher R rating than the normal version. And then I put my Z-Sit pad underneath this mattress, and I wasn't cold at night at all, and I was in temperatures well below freezing. With your sleeping bag, obviously apart from making sure it's the right rating for the temperatures you're going into, shake out your bag once you take it out of its stuff sack, and that maximizes the lofting, letting all the air get in amongst the feathers if you've got a down bag. And if you need to, move the down or synthetic fill around the bag so that it's in your normal cold spots. If you sleep curled up, consider a quilt rather than a sleeping bag. Curling up creates spots where the bag is tight against your body, and therefore the down or the fill is compressed and not lofting, and therefore is a cold spot. A quilt is basically a sleeping bag that doesn't have a zip, and it lays over top of you. And this means that the bag stays on top of you as you turn over or curl up, and doesn't compress down. And also try not to breathe inside your bag as it dampens down. So if you're cold and you're cinching the top of your bag around your face, always leave a little hole for your mouth and nose to breathe out that dampness. Melting snow, so you have something to drink. Make sure you agree within the team on your area where you gather your clean white snow. Put a little water in your pot before adding the snow. If you don't, you may end up damaging your pot, and the snow ends up tasting bad because it actually scorches. I know it seems strange that snow scorches, but it does. The snow will melt down, and then you need to keep adding more snow. And if you add it in small bits, it warms up quicker. And another hint, it's a good idea to do this just before bed, so then you have nice warm water in your bottle, which you can use as a hot water bottle in your sleeping bag. Gas canisters often don't perform as well in the cold, but there's a few things you can do to make this better. The first one is warm it up before you use it. A good way is when you are setting up your tent, have your gas canister inside your jacket so it's warming up and ready for use once your tent is set up. The next one is put some insulation underneath the gas canister so that it's not directly on the snow. This will stop the canister from cooling down when you need it. And another one is to use a windbreak. You can either have a purpose-built one, or you can build one just using the snow around you to put a wall around your canister. All right, Toileting in the snow. Do not dig a hole in the snow and poo in it. It's too cold for your poo to break down. And the snow is eventually going to melt, and then your waste is then going to be scattered over the environment. Carry a poo tube or doggy bags and Ziploc bags. And then once you've done your business, carry your poo and your paper out with you. There's plenty of videos on how to make your own poo tube, but you can also buy them. So to use a poo tube, you do your business in a paper bag and you seal it, and then you put your bag in the tube and you screw the lid on tight, and the tube stops any accidental crushing and leakage. If you don't have a poo tube, then make sure you put it in 2 Ziplocs, so double bag it and put it on the outside of the pack so there's no accidental squishing and leakage. Okay, before you go to sleep, these are some things you can do to make sure you have a warm night. Go to the toilet so you don't have to get up through the night. Ensure all of your liquids, batteries, water filter, shoes, socks are protected from the cold. Oh, it dropped below 0 degrees last night. And how do I know? Because my socks are frozen. As in, look, they stand up on their own. Your water filter, batteries and liquids, it's usually best to put them in the foot of your sleeping bag, and you quickly get used to that extra lump at your feet. And the reason I say water filter is when you use your water filter, there's still liquid left within the hollow fibers of the water filter. And if these freeze, water expands and it can actually damage the hollow fibers. So that means that the dirty water can now leak out into the clean water rather than going through the hollow fiber filter part of it. Eat high energy snacks such as a chocolate bar to give you extra calories to stay warm. Sleeping bags work by trapping your body warmth inside. They don't create heat themselves, so that means you've got a greater chance of staying warm if you can generate extra heat to warm the bag immediately. So you can do some intense exercise to warm your body before getting into your bag, such as a few jumping jacks. Use a hot water bottle. This will warm the sleeping bag and you'll have the benefit of your water still being thawed in the morning. Don't get into your sleeping bag with lots of layers on. You need your body heat to be able to radiate out and warm the bag. And if there's too many layers, then no air is getting out and into your bag. And make sure you've only got dry clothes in the sleeping bag. I know some people have to bring their wet clothes into the sleeping bag to try and dry them out, but that's just going to make you cold and you risk your down getting damp and therefore not lofting. If you get cold during the night, check the loft of your sleeping bag that your down feathers haven't collected in a certain area, leaving others bare. Eat another high energy snack, another chocolate bar or lollies or some sweets or something. Do a burst of intense exercise. Put on another hat or more clothes. And if nature calls in the middle of the night, do not procrastinate. It will make you colder in the long run because your body has to burn calories to keep your own warm. You can either go outside, which is not pleasant in cold temperatures, or consider peeing in your dirty water bottle, i.e. the one that your dirty water goes in before you filter it. And females, you can use a pee device to allow you to go into a water bottle. I use one called Pibella, and it's the only one that I've used that doesn't leak, and I've used a few different types. I hope you found this video helpful, and I really encourage you to go out there and give it a try. For your first night, camp on some snow close to home, and then as you get braver, venture further and further into the wilderness. It is definitely worthwhile, and you will not regret having the skills to be able to set up camp in the mountains.